an elementary school district in Phoenix, Arizona, the Hillsborough-Deering Elementary School up in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, and the Mastrocola Elementary School in Merrimack. But they didn't list anything done at a middle school. So here's the rub as we're kind of taking a look at this.
Hello, Goffstown. Welcome to another edition of Goffstown School Board Watch, where public comment is always open. I am your host, Donna Pinard. This is one of those special editions of Goffstown School Board Watch where I am going to tell you the date. Usually we don't tell you the date so it can air at any time, but this is a time-sensitive update. Today is October 22nd, 2012. And I will be referring to the Goffstown News edition from that came out this past week, and referring to the article by Kathy Remillard in the Goffstown News entitled "Staff Criticizes MVMS Study." Here to update you on a couple of things. The school year started off well at Mountain View Middle School. The very first day of school, Principal Jim Hunt was not there. He was welcoming a new grandchild into the world. We congratulate him on the birth of a new grandchild. He was not there, and the staff tells me it was one of the best opening days they've ever had. Stacy Buckley was in the building, as was Assistant Superintendent Brian Bulkey. The staff actually were able to voice a lot of their concerns and a lot of their frustrations at that first opening day when kids are not there, and they felt heard. Let's hope there's some fruit from the things that they shared on that day. In the meantime, a company has been chosen for the study. That company is West Ed. It's out of California. They do have offices in Massachusetts, and it's probably going to be the Massachusetts people who are conducting the study. Staff tells me they've already been in for an introductory day. Stacy Buckley was in the building that day. I jokingly say that P.J. Collins, who's the Dean of Students, dressed up for the occasion. It's really great. His normal wardrobe is Bermuda shorts and knee socks, and he had a suit on that day, which is wonderful. Step up. Jen Gillis has been noted by staff to be more friendly. They appreciate that change as well. But here's the point, and Jim Hunt, as far as the staff knows, or the staff that I speak to anyway, didn't come out of his office. If we behave differently when the study people are in the building, it's really not going to be an accurate reflection of what life is usually like at MVMS. So I would say to the administrators, please be yourselves. Now, two things have been introduced this year. Not only is West Ed entering the building, but we also have PBIS that has been introduced to Mountain View Middle School. PBIS is Positive Behavior Intervention Strategies. And it's kind of an overall behavior, everybody on the same page, everyone using the same language in regards to behaviors in the classroom, expectations of behaviors in the hallways, expectation of behaviors in lunchroom, et cetera, et cetera. The majority of the staff were on board with accepting PBIS into the building and are pretty upbeat about the fact that it may work. As you know, West Ed has been called in because one of the areas of concern at Mountain View Middle School was safety, where some children were not feeling safe in the environment, and a lot of it had to do with perceived lack of discipline. As I reported to you when Jim Hunt's tenure started, his first year he came and he didn't make any changes. The second year he decided to take away all write-up slips from teachers and support staff. By contract, the teacher's contract that we have indicates that when a teacher writes a student up, the administration is required to make a decision in regards to that student and give the teacher a copy back as to what the discipline was for that student. Therefore, they had to reinstate the discipline slip back, the ability to write up to the teachers, but they did not give that ability to write students up back to support staff in the building. And for those of you that don't know, paraprofessionals work directly with students all day long. That is their job. And it hampered the disciplinary process for them to have to go to a teacher to say, please write this student up. Teachers obviously are hesitant to do it if they didn't see it. And when students were written up, consequences were not doled out in a steady way where everyone had the same kinds of behaviors taken care of. So PBIS has been introduced into the building. I've had staff tell me they're on board with it, but they're cautious and they are waiting to see what will happen. This is about that time of year, October 22nd, where write-ups will begin to happen. And if the office follows through with the procedure, all will be fine. If they do not, then you're going to see a lot of people bail and no longer want to participate because they're not going to waste the paper and waste the ink and waste the time if no consequences are given. And that's what we've had in the building for the past 4 years. So it was a problem. Let's hope that the introduction of PBIS, which I have every confidence will work. I know a lot about PBIS, learned a lot about it when I was a student at Revere College under Dr. Howard Muscott, who is the PBIS New Hampshire guru. So I know a lot about it. I like it. I think the program can work if everyone's on board, and it's just a matter of time. We'll see if it works. Jim Hunt's letter over the summer, the introductory letter as staff comes back, was entitled Whatever It Takes. Let's see if it works. In the meantime, Jim Hunt is not even on the PBIS leadership team in the building. Unheard of from what I know about PBIS, that the principal of the building is not even on the leadership team with the implementation of PBIS, so it looks like he's been pulled out of that process. Teachers tell me that as they break off into groups on teacher workshop days, to date, no one's been in a small group or learning anything under the direction and leadership of Jim Hunt, so he seems to have been pulled out of that part. He's no longer directing traffic in the afternoon when parents come to pick up their children. Staff tell me they do see him monitoring the cafeteria at breakfast time when the kids are there, and he does a walk around at around 9 o'clock in the morning, making sure all of the outside doors are locked as they should be. He does that with the Dean of Students, P.J. Collins, who walks around the building, and that they have seen him monitoring 2 different lunches. So he's coming out for that. But for the most part, he's staying in his office, and he's not really out and about. A welcome change to the staff. One staff member used the analogy, he's like a lion in a cage. We can see him, and he can see us, but don't let him out, because he'll eat us. And that's the analogy that they have used. In the past, we've had, as I've mentioned on the show before, administrators pulled out of the building where they then fulfilled the rest of their contract over at the SAU, and they were not allowed to come back into MVMS. That was definitely an option that Stacy Buckley could have used with Jim Hunt. She is a supporter of Jim Hunt, has always supported Jim Hunt and the tactics that he has used over his tenure here at Mountain View Middle School against staff and for some of their complaints. She has supported that. So she has chosen not to remove him from the building. The school board last year voted in his contract for this year not to give him a raise, where all the other administrators in the SAU did receive a raise. So we've had some discipline at least there. And it appears as though he will be staying in his office rather than being removed from the building and placed someplace else. But he is not as fully engaged as he has been in past years. Now, by reporting this, we always take the chance that they will let him out just so that this can be wrong. Time will tell. But if he comes out, please act like yourself. Be normal in front of West Ed so they can get an accurate picture of what things have truly been like at Mountain View Middle School. Now, one of the very things that I ask every parent regarding Mountain View Middle School and the troubles that we've had over the past 4 to 5 years, I always say, has it affected your kids? Morale is low with the staff, teachers are not happy, has it affected your kids? The overwhelming majority of parents have told me no, they have not seen it affect their kids. If you have seen the bad morale in the building affect your children, then by all means, please email me at gsbwatch@comcast.net. Would love to hear from you. However, I want to tell you one personal encounter that I did have myself. I was standing, this was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I was standing next to a teacher from Mountain View Middle School at a town event. This teacher was one of the teachers that has been targeted by Jim Hunt. One of the key methods that he uses sometimes with staff that have been chosen as a target is to make his presence known on a daily basis. And he will do that by walking outside the door. For one targeted teacher, he went into her classroom every single day to rinse out his coffee cup. In our contract, it states that if you come in to do a formal observation, you have to announce, you have to have a pre-observation meeting, what they want to see. They have to announce the day that they're coming in to do the observation, and then you have a post-observation meeting. Principals can do a walk through the classroom periodically, and they often do. I can tell you that it's October 22nd. I've had a walk through my classroom once already this year, but it's never been on a daily basis, to the point where children were actually saying, Mr. Hunt is here, Mr. Hunt is here, Mr. Hunt is here, to the teacher as he perused by the door. For one particular teacher, he would actually physically open the door and then click it shut for them to know that he was there. And the children would be, why does he come every single day and open up the door? So these are some of the things. And then other things that they do is they'll put a teacher on a plan of improvement. If they target a teacher and they say you need to improve, which I have no problem with that. If you think there's something that a teacher needs to improve on, great, let's do it. But one of the things they like to do is say to a teacher, here, you need to read this article and write a reflection about it. And Susan Hood, who was a former MVMS teacher, who also has gone public, so I'm not sharing anything that's not already out there. She was on the Girard at Large radio program on 90.7 WLMW from 6 to 9 o'clock in the morning. And she went on that show and she talked about some of the things. So they put you on a plan of improvement and then they tell you to read an article and write a reflection. And they'll make you do this, they'll make you meet with them once a month, once or twice a month over the course of the school year. And for every reflection she turned in, they would say, it's not good enough, you're not giving us the answers that we want from you, you're not seeing what we're trying to tell you. And they kept giving it back to her for yet another rewrite and yet another rewrite. So that's some of the things that the teachers are fed up with and are tired of having to deal with, and are tired of teachers being targeted and the process not being fair. If you want someone to improve, then you give them a plan of improvement that's doable, and you don't continue to tell them to rewrite. Which, of course, Rich Girard has told Stacy Buckley to keep rewriting her answers for every right-to-know request that he has. But evidently, you know, I chuckle because it's wonderful that she has to continue to do rewrites because she's not giving him the information that she wants. Goffstown residents should be appalled. Just because the law doesn't have any teeth to it doesn't mean that Stacy Buckley can avoid fulfilling the law and participating in the process of the law. So, West Ed, and choosing West Ed. Stacy Buckley, of course, did not follow the process. She did not do a request for proposal. West Ed was one of those companies, when she did not do the request for proposal, that she contacted on her own, of her own volition, to talk to them about coming in to do a study. So she's already had contact with this company. Some of the staff at Mountain View are concerned about that because what did she tell them way back then before the school board ever gave her a directive to, yes, go ahead with it? What did she tell them? Is there already bias there because she's been on the phone or via email but via letter already communicating with them? Now the other company was Ceresc, and of course Ceresc did submit a proposal and they were denied, but that's because, well, at least we think it's because the assistant chairman, Diane McCarthy, works for Ceresc. Now she tried to hide that she works for Ceresc by saying she didn't really work for Ceresc because she got paid through a grant. But again, it's all semantics. We're playing with words, we're playing games, we're trying to buy time. We're trying to make ourselves look better than what it really is rather than just showing it. Put your cards on the table and show them. So we've already know that we play semantics. We will play semantics. So in this article, Stacy Buckley claims that I was inaccurate by saying that West Ed was coming in and starting with classrooms first. Well, staff was told they would come in and begin to interview teachers. They asked teachers to give up their own time, coming in early, 20, 25 minutes, answer a few questions about classrooms. Haven't seen the questions yet, not quite sure what they're going to ask, but supposedly they were told that's what they were going to start with first. Now, in this article, Stacy says, oh no, classroom observations are going to happen in January. Okay, great. Great. That's not what was said. It said interviews about classroom procedures. So you can come in and observe a classroom in January, but you may have asked that teacher about whatever it is about classrooms you're going to ask. Classroom size, curriculum, there's all kinds of areas regarding the classroom that the questions could go in. I have not seen the questions. I have not talked to anyone who's answered the questions. I'm not sure what the questions look like yet. And now that Stacy has said that I was grossly inaccurate in saying they were starting with classrooms, they probably won't start with the interview with classrooms. But again, are we playing semantics? So this is the update I wanted to give you. West Ed is going to cost $35,000 for this study to happen. And there's adjacent costs if it has to go over the criteria that they've put forward, that we're going to do this, this, and this. If it's anything over that, it can get pretty expensive. Last school board meeting, Stacy announced that in the month of November, interviews would be going out to staff, parents, and students. Wonderful. During the month of November. They are going to go and be turned in, these interviews that they're filled out, or will be turned in directly to West Ed. Stacy's not going to see them. She claims that that means it's going to be unbiased. Wonderful. Really glad. One of the things that concerns me is there's no former staff being interviewed. What about the former staff? The building is filled, turned over, new people, all new hires to Jim Hunt. I know one teacher who told me she can't stand him, but because he hired her, she feels a sense of obligation and duty and therefore is not going to say anything because she feels that obligation and that duty. Okay, so where's the past staff? If we're looking for past practices that we can't discipline the administration on because it happened in the past, we still need to have a picture of pattern and behavior. So even though you can't discipline him, you need to talk to the staff who have left, who have witnessed, either they were a target themselves or they witnessed someone else becoming a target, using unfair, unethical standards to assess a teacher's performance. And frankly, just wanting to cause psychological trauma on a daily basis just to keep you off your guard. I wish teachers were stronger and could handle it, handle him coming in, opening up the door every single day, being at the door, hearing the kids, you know, what's he doing, what's he doing, what's he doing, why is he here, why is he here, why is this happening? I wish teachers could handle that better. But let's face it, on a daily basis, to have your boss after you, letting you know that you're the target and that he wants you gone, it's not going to put you in the best frame of mind to either improve or do the best to your ability on that day. It's a problem. So back to my personal encounter with a 6th grader. It was a 6th grade girl, comes up to an MVMS teacher at a town event in tears with her mother standing right behind her. And she says to the teacher, "Are they trying to get rid of you? Are they trying to get rid of you?" The teacher looks at me, I look at her, and she says, "Never in my career have I had a student ask me that question before." The mother looked like she wanted to just die because the question had been asked, but this poor little girl was ready to cry and was looking to her teacher for an answer. And the answer was, yes, they were trying to get rid of her. That's the truth. That's the blunt truth. Yes, you think she's a great teacher. Yes, this obviously is bothering you. But yes, that's exactly what they're trying to do. She is a target, and they're trying to make her life miserable on a daily basis, and they're trying to get rid of her. I'm happy to say it hasn't worked yet. But what are we doing to the kids? We're scaring 6th graders now. And if it hasn't affected your child, that's great, and I don't want it to affect your child, but it affected this child. I saw the agony on her face, the angst, the worry. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because Jim Hunt has decided that person's not a good teacher? I would love to know, what criteria are you using? Are you using NWEA scores? Are you using anonymous parent complaints? Are you using complaints from kids who are coming down in the office? What exactly are you using? Because you're not supposed to have any anonymous complaints. According to policy KEB, you should be saying to any parent who has a complaint, go talk to them directly. If you don't get any of the answers that you want, then you come to me. But that teacher has a right to know who's complaining about them. I know teachers who have been approached by Jim Hunt saying, I've received an email, oh gee, and now I can't find it. Or no, I won't tell you who it is. Really? The school board policy KEB, says you can't do that. You're not a king in the building. It doesn't belong to you. You have authorities that you need to answer to. Stop it. Just stop it. And please continue your normal behavior while West Ed is in the building doing their research. And please, West Ed, make sure that part of that research is interviewing past staff, people who could not take the morale in the building and decided to go elsewhere. Please make sure you get the real, full story. And if you're going to stay in your office because you've been told to stay in your office, great. Staff's really happy with that. Just stay in your office. But when West Ed is around, please talk. Please talk about your plan and how it was put forth and how Stacy approved of it and what exactly you did and what your tactics were. Just put it on the table. Let them see it. If you're not ashamed of anything that you did, if you don't think anything you did, I have seen what you've done. I think it's unethical. But who am I? Just a member of this town whose money is now being spent. Tax dollars are being spent for a study that I know does not really need to happen. And Phil Pancoast on the school board and Keith Allard, this is a matter of policy. They wanted it done. They gave the directive to have it done when they were chairman of the school board, and it was done. Stacy was doing what she was told to do. Jim Hunt was doing what he was told to do. But guess what? There's a higher authority than that. And that is you, the citizens of this town, and the citizens of New Boston, and the citizens of Dunbarton. And unfortunately, I know that on this issue and past issues, you've come forward and made public comment, and you've been ignored, and you've been trivialized, and your voices have not been heard. You've had a pat answer given it to you, and then they go ahead and do what they want anyway. I know. I know. It's a problem. It's a big problem. It's not time to sit down. It's time to keep talking, keep trying, keep being appalled, write letters to the editor, make your voices known. Because in the end, it's affecting our kids. So to wrap this up, I think PBIS is going to work. I think West Ed will come in and do their study, and it'll be accurate as long as they interview past staff. If they do not interview past staff, it's not going to be accurate. Not in the least will it be accurate. And we'll be watching that. And as the article in the Goffstown News said, we probably should do 2 studies. Let's hire Ben Hampton, who was willing to do it for $1. Let's have him do it as well. Let's have him do interviews of staff and past staff. Let's have him look at all the data and come up with 2 reports. 2 reports can't be bad. It's only going to cost us $1 more. Why not? One last thing I wanted to bring up. We had a default budget last year, and they gave money back to the town just the same, which is great. Part of that is because it was a mild winter, and so you saved money there. Great, great. We had a default budget the year before that, and it was said in school board meetings, oh, we have to cut across the board. We have to work with this default budget. Every line, we got to cut every line. So the administrative line was cut. That administrator that was let go was a special ed coordinator, Heather Worthen, over at Mountain View Middle School. Her position was cut. And yet they turned around and hired a part-time person to come in and do special ed meetings. So she wasn't really cut fully. The job was half cut, and picked up supposedly by Jen Gillis, the assistant principal. So you still had a half-time person, so they didn't really go without. Then you had a default budget again the following year, and they just were operating with a default budget now, and yet the special ed coordinator position has been reinstated to a full-time position, and a new person has been hired. And the only one who voted no because, hey, we were supposed to cut that position was Dan Cloutier. He voted no when it came time to accept that position. Here's my point. Administrative line is never going to suffer when there's a default budget. We used to have an administrator here at the high school that got cut that they never did replace. And Stacy at one meeting was complaining about the fact that, of course, the NEA S&C comes in to accreditate our school, and everything they said that that person was doing has to be picked up by someone else. Wah, wah, wah. So those duties were picked up by someone else, and they have not replaced that position. But they did replace the position at Mountain View Middle School. That was cut because of a default budget, and we're still operating with a default budget, but miraculously, it's been restored. One of the reasons why fiscal conservatives in this town come out en masse and vote school budgets down without, we'll say no every single time, is because of things like that. If the kids do not get it, because now they're going to cry when, oh, well, we weren't able to buy those new math textbooks to the tune of $250,000. We weren't able to. You do what you want to do. It's a bottom line budget. So once they get the money, they can do and move it around and place it anywhere they want. And the kids are the last ones on the list to get what they need. The administrative line is never going to suffer. They don't suffer. They get what they want. They get what they need. They get over and above what they need. I try not to talk about money because I'm a teacher. So when it comes to budgets, don't you want to spend money? But we need to see the waste. There's waste. And unfortunately, it's the kids who suffer. But there is waste. So think about that when you vote for your school board members. And when you're making decisions, please raise your voice, because this study is going through and it needs to be monitored, and a light needs to shine on it all along the way. We have to keep them honest. They've already shown us and proved to us that they are not honest. So we'll keep shining a light in the darkness. We'll keep updating you as to what's going on. And please, if you have a child at Mountain View Middle School, please encourage the teachers there. They are still teaching at grade levels they don't want to be teaching at. And let's face it, this administration has not worked with human nature, but rather against human nature to try and make people miserable. Please keep that in mind as you deal with your teachers, your children's teachers, and give them a positive word, because they can use the encouragement. Thank you, Goffstown. Have a great day.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard. As you know, our mission here at Gerard at Large is to connect local people, places, and things by bringing you news from our own backyard. Did you know that GoffstownToday.com has a similar mission? So when we want to know what's happening in Goffstown, Weare, Dunbarton, or New Boston, we go to GoffstownToday.com.
Hi, this is Bill Wynne, publisher at GoffstownToday.com. If it's happening in Goffstown, Weare, Dunbarton, or New Boston, even in Pinardville, you can find out about it on GoffstownToday.com. If we know about it, you should too.